welcome to Story and Things, a podcast where we review stories
and talk about things. I'm sorry, that's the second one.
Beer?
We've been drinking.
I've been drinking.
Oh my god! Didn't know we had a star karaoke edition.
Not even.
I'm sorry, this isn't Punk 57.
But that was fun though. We should do that again.
You know, we should do an episode. We should do a karaoke episode.
No.
Yeah, okay. I'm hearing a lot of yes in that no, so we'll go back to it. And then we should do an ASMR episode.
No.
Where we talk about a story we hate, but in whispers. Wouldn't that be funny though?
Which story comes to mind?
I hope that didn't come through because I kind of heard myself. But, but the whole time we have to like whisper how much we fucking hate it. You know?
I don't like whispering. It makes me feel uncomfy.
But wouldn't it be
Wait, but we should say what story we said though.
I just said Penelope Douglas.
But what we mean is Punk 57.
I was thinking about her other one.
Birthday Girl?
Yeah, what if we did though? Wouldn't that be funny?
We haven't read it though, so what if I love it?
We have to find a story we know we hate. It can be like one of our old ones, like, I don't know, top of my head, Bridgerton. You know? One of our old ones. And then us, we can't laugh. Oh. And we have to stay quiet. Wouldn't that be funny? And that could be like our April Fool's episode.
Wait, I do love that. Wait, I love that. Yeah. We should do that. I don't like ASMR though.
But it's funny. It's not that really funny.
Stop it.
Because we'll be like, Daphne's such a bitch, don't you agree?
Kinda.
But then we won't really be able to hear each other. I can hear you.
But I can't hear you, so.
So, I've been waiting for this episode.
For a while now.
I have. Mm-hmm. I read this book in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And then I decided this book doesn't make any fucking sense. So I reread it. And let me just say, sometimes it hits the second time. So we're going to be talking about Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. And it's very dense.
It's super dense.
So
good luck.
So I am going to summarize it, but I did also want to say, because it's such a dense book, we're not going to get through all the specifics of the plot, more so just discussing certain aspects of it. Mm-hmm. So I do recommend you read it if you want to understand what we're talking about. Yeah. Because we will not touch everything.
There's no way. No. We won't have enough time.
No, this would be hours and hours long. Raised in servitude to the ninth house. Oh. Gideon is asked to abandon her crappy life and afterlife, because there's fucking skeletons walking around here, bitch, to aid a necromancer who is named Harrow Hark, the reverend daughter of the ninth house, who has been summoned by the emperor to train to be a lictor at Cannon House, which is the surviving structure left of the first house. So basically, to say that in an easier way, our main character, Gideon, is asked to be a knight to help a necromancer. And because Gideon's life is already crappy, she's like, I bet.
But she's more so forced into it.
She is forced into it. So Gideon and Harrow travel to a haunted Gothic palace in space, where Harrow's training is meant to commence. We come across several necromancers and cavaliers, which are the knights, from the 1st through 8th house, who are also shooting for the same goal, to be a lictor. With not much guidance, they are working towards the goal until the necromancers and lictors start freaking dropping like flies, dying left and right. No one knows what it takes to be a lictor, but our characters are destined to find out or die trying. So,
suspense.
So that's my summary.
Oh, that's it?
It's very spoiler free because there's a lot going on in this story. So go fucking listen or read this book. Here. I'll give you my Audible password.
It's right here on the screen.
Right, here. Please don't put it. Please don't put it. I don't make that much coin. But anyway, it's a very dense story, so go listen to it because we are just going to spoil parts. Like I said, we're not talking about the entire story because, to be honest, it's been like a while since I've read this and not everything stuck. So yeah, I will try my best to explain it. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the tropes that were in this story. And tell me how you feel about these types of tropes, because I feel like it is going to play into our final rating.
Okay.
One of these tropes is my girl Aggie Christie. My girl Aggie Christie, a famous trope that was created because of one of her books called And Then There Were None. So this is based...
I didn't know that was a whole trope.
This is based off of the famous Agatha Christie book, And Then There Were None, where they go to, is it like a beach?
It's a murder mystery pretty much, and it's like Clue. You're trying to figure out who committed the murder, but they start slowly dropping one by one, and then hence the title, And Then There Were None.
Can I tell you, I've never been into mystery books.
I love that book.
I know you do. I remember you telling me in high school.
Yeah.
That you loved it
I
so
read
much.
it in middle school, I think.
It's
been a minute since I read it, so if it's not good anymore, okay, I'm sorry. I liked it at the time. I'm like defending myself. I have been meaning to read it again, though.
I've been wanting to read it because I know it's a good book. I've never been a fan of mystery, but it's because I don't really seek it out. And also, my one brain cell is freaking trudging along on her exercise bike. She can't solve for shit.
She can't solve these riddles. So the reason I'm assuming that this is a trope is because this book has a murder mystery aspect to it. Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure out why people are dropping like flies.
Yes, we are. And it's the entire story. Mm-hmm. And it's hard, when you think it's someone, that person ends up fucking dying.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on with that trope.
Do you like that trope?
I didn't mind it in this story. I did like the aspect of the murder mystery in the story when it started to get deeper in and they started to kill characters I liked.
Yeah, that was sad.
Another trope is the fake it till you make it trope, which is fake your
talents?
Fake your talents to make it to the end.
Because Gideon had to change her entire fighting style.
To look like she was a cavalier.
Exactly, because she wasn't a cavalier. Harrowheart's cavalier was her brother, and he just ended up freaking leaving.
He was coddled as a child, and Harrow's mom was like, you can't take my boy away. So no, I say no to this. And that's when Harrow ends up coercing Gideon to be the cavalier.
Because she can't go without the cavalier.
Yep. Another trope, and this is the one where I'm like, is enemies to lovers.
Lovers.
So that's what's interesting about this book. This book is considered an enemies to lovers, but there's also a lot of not controversy. There's a lot of arguments with that because they also consider this an LGBTQ book. But nothing really happens
between the two main characters who are portrayed very well as enemies, but not lovers.
I don't think I would agree with that sense unless something would have solidified their relationship together. I wouldn't consider
there was literally no crumb.
This is enemies to, I'm still your enemy, but we work in the same area, so I'll be your friend for a bit. Acquaintance.
I was gonna say enemies to, I guess I tolerate you now.
Yeah, exactly. So another one that I didn't know was a trope is bathtub bonding.
What is bathtub bonding?
Exactly what it sounds like.
We bond in the bathtub? Wait, I actually do love moments like that.
Yeah.
There's something so vulnerable about two people being in a bathtub.
I love that you said that. You right now, and my mind, my one brain cell, are one and one have become two. So,
are you saying I only have one brain cell?
So anyway.
I'm sorry, I'm so cold.
The reason why I like this, I didn't even realize this was a trope. But it's apparently rooted in Japanese media, so anime, manga, where baths are supposed to show vulnerability. Yeah. So when you're in a bath, you're naked, and you take off not only your clothes, but your status socially. So it shows vulnerability, and usually in these moments, we see both characters bond and strip away what they once were while talking about intimate moments which push their relationship forward. And there is one scene we will talk about that is bathtub bonding, and that was a very good scene to me. And the last trope is bury your gaze.
Which we've talked about enough. Actually, we've only talked about it once, I think.
But we do bring it up a lot.
Yeah.
Bury Your Gaze is anytime there's LGBTQ representation in a book, it never really ends happy because one ends up dying.
It's always like a sacrifice. It's always depicted as, oh, well, death is a beautiful thing, so one of them is going to die.
So those are all the tropes I have written down. And I think I don't want to talk about every fucking character in this book. I'm sorry.
So many characters.
But there's a lot.
So, I cannot keep track of all of them.
There's only 2 that I want to talk about right now, and it is our 2 main characters. The first main character I want to talk about is Gideon. So what are your thoughts on Gideon?
So my thoughts on Gideon. From the very beginning, the writing style is really different from what I'm used to. Gideon is probably the most sassy protagonist I've ever read.
Yep.
But it was really interesting. I did enjoy seeing how she dealt with things and seeing her having to change her fighting style just to be Harrow's cavalier. And even in that moment when Harrow tried to do her own thing, because when they reached the first house, they separated and she was doing her own thing, and I think she was trying to find a key. And Gideon, they don't get along, but she was like, you know what? I'm here for a reason, so...
So Gideon's over here, and by the way, Harrow had written like a note to Gideon.
Oh,
like, don't fucking talk to people.
Oh, yeah. And she's like, can you put your face paint on adequately? Like, she underlined it and everything. The note that she left her was so passive-aggressive. It was so funny. And she was just like, don't even look for me, okay? Just stay there.
But isn't it kind of funny that even though Gideon didn't talk to anyone, because Gideon always wore her hood and had her makeup on, and she had fucking sunglasses.
Yeah.
And so people, like, you know, she's over here sitting, eating fucking, like, 5 meals at once, and people just sit next to her and they're like, I fucking trust you. I trust you.
It was so random because it's not like she had to do anything. No. She would just be there and then be like, let me tell you my whole life story.
And it was built on the fact that when they were doing a training, like they were all just practicing dueling together. Gideon won her first fight in like a second. Yeah. That's all it took. So people were like, oh, fuck.
Oh my god, damn, girl. Who is she? Wait, but before we say even more, the way that they described how she survived that whole poisoning as a baby, god damn, they literally killed a whole 200 babies, and they like put, I think it was like poisonous gas or something, right? And she survived by the grace of God. Who knows how she survived, but I think she was also closest to the gas. Yeah. I just loved that whole situation because it said a lot about her character. Yeah. She's a survivor.
She is a survivor. Thank you, Destiny's Child. Destiny's one child. Gideon.
And Harrow.
Okay, Destiny's children. I did like Gideon. The only thing that threw me off, like I would agree with everything you just said. The only thing that threw me off at times was her humor. She is really funny. Like there is one scene close to the very beginning of the book after her and Harrow start working together where Harrow's unable to see one part of the labyrinth that they're trying to go through. Harrow's like, we got to do this. So you just go look over there and just tell me what you see. And Gideon's like, okay, whatever. So she goes over and she looks. And anytime that Harrow stands on basically like a button, there's a huge skeleton that materializes. And then after a second breaks away. So then Gideon is like, oh my gosh, I know what I have to do. And she goes to Harrow and she's like, throw me in there. I'm going to fight it. And you know, Harrow's like, what's the reason? And he's like, skeleton hands look like big swords. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna fight it. It's like, is that really all you can come up with? That it looked like swords, so you're gonna fight a fucking skeleton? And even, like, throughout, like, Gideon talking to other people, there was this one specific fight where she was fighting and there was like a bunch of skeletons helping her. And just like to the bad guy, she's just like, we do bones, bitches. It's like, oh my god, that's so fucking gold. The only thing is that sometimes it felt like the humor threw me off. Only because the humor was written as if it was written in old time English, but she was making modern time jokes.
Oh, yeah.
So
I see what you mean.
I really hated, because the writing threw me off at the beginning. I had to reread the beginning twice, like the first 50 pages twice, because it was like, oh, back in the house where the nuns lived and this, and then here's Gideon like, I'll send you a picture of a tit. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that was very oddly placed.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that threw me off. But I think Gideon as a character was really interesting. I liked her. Like you said, she was sassy. And I just feel like she complemented our second character really well.
Yeah. I agree. Can I just say one line?
Yeah.
That I just think encompasses her entire fucking character. This is an ebook, so it's on page 133 out of 389.
Okay.
But it says, Gideon rolled her eyes so hard that she felt in danger of twisting the optic nerve. She's so stupid.
Can you imagine just like, whoa.
Whoa. What did you think about Harrow's character?
Oh, yeah. So, Harrow, the Reverend's daughter, is an interesting character. Just to mention, because like I said, we're just going to kind of mention little things, not the whole story. They live in the 9th house at the beginning of the story, and they've lived there their entire life. And the 9th house is currently going extinct, basically.
Yeah.
There was a death of 200 children. Not Gideon, though. Fucking survived that shit.
She's a survivor, remember that.
But because of that, there's really only Gideon, Harrow, and Harrow's little brother. Orpheus, I think. I don't remember his name.
I think that's right.
Okay, but there's not even Harrow's parents. So remember, Harrow's a necromancer. So it's revealed later in the story that her parents did commit suicide because Harrow had done something that was not allowed to be done in the 9th house. But she brought them back to life and animated them basically in order to continue to have the two rulers in the front. Which, by the way, kind of freaked me out at the fact that when Harrow left, she talked to her people of the 9th house and said, while I'm away, both the king and queen are going to be like doing their business, so they won't be around. And until it's revealed that both of them are dead, like it was brought up, but until it's revealed
like actually
that both of them
stated.
are dead, the fact that they're probably in a room dead is really sad.
It's a scary image.
It is. Harrow's character. I think I like her more than I like Gideon. And the thing is, would you call her morally gray?
Yeah. Kind
She
of.
is,
I
right?
think so, yeah.
Because it is revealed that the death of the 200 children, minus Gideon, was caused by the king and queen of the 9th house. And Harrow knew about it. I don't know what they were doing. It was like a giant sacrifice.
Wasn't it also to benefit Harrow?
Yeah, so that she could be the best necromancer.
Exactly.
And Harrow knew this. And the fact that Gideon didn't die freaked everyone out. And that kind of solidified the type of character that Harrow was, which was a character jealous of Gideon to the point of hate. And Harrow's very complex in the way that you want to like her sometimes, and then she'll do things like, oh, Gideon, you're forced to go with me. I know you were trying to escape because you were basically imprisoned in the 9th house, but I made it so your train's gone.
Oh, that was sad.
That was really messed up. Or just not really caring about Gideon, not talking to her, being very to herself. And when all the murders start happening, showing no remorse for the people who are dying.
And Gideon starts caring about a character who, I don't remember their name. And
the 7th house
yes.
necromancer.
Yes, she starts really caring about this character. And Harrow shows almost like possessiveness towards Gideon, but not even because she's showing that she loved her or anything, but it was more so like, Gideon, you can't get distracted. So can you not talk to this character whose name I can't remember right now because there's so many freaking characters in this book.
Wait, give me a second because I do want to know the name.
Dulcinea.
She was the 7th house necromancer.
Right, and so she was a sickly character, and so Gideon was getting close to her, and Harrow was pissed about it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not because she was showing, oh my god, I care about you, I love you, but it's more of a...
You're my cavalier.
My cavalier, so I need you to focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I also had a love-hate relationship. Sorry.
Whoa.
I was in the book.
News here. I
know. I also had a love-hate feeling towards Harrow. She is really interesting, and sometimes she was a little bit more complex than Gideon, but I just didn't like a lot of the things that she did.
So now that we've talked about both of our characters, I do want to talk about the relationship together. But I do want to know what you thought about the world building in this book. Because it's very dense.
You know, it's really dense. It was a lot. I am going to be honest with you and everyone listening. I don't think I really understood everything, but I did really appreciate that the author wrote like a key in the beginning of the book, because while they were talking about the different houses, and also the different houses did have different focuses and different personalities to them. So I could recognize like, oh, this is a different house or this is a different place. I did like the world building. There was just a lot in this book that I don't think I grasped everything.
And you know what? If you have the physical copy, I don't know if it was in the ebook, but the physical copy even has a dictionary in the back to define all of the words used in this book that you wouldn't know, as well as like all of the names of the characters introduced and a little synopsis of them. To mention about Gideon again, you did say she's a very sassy character, but some would even say that she is rude. She's rude. Mean.
She's rude.
Snarky. How do you feel about having an unlikable character as the narrator of the book? And when did you find yourself sympathizing for her, if you did?
I don't think she was an unlikable character for me personally. I do agree with you that sometimes it was a bit much, but I thought her humor made everything more interesting. Seeing her reaction to all of the things that she had to do with Harrow and, you know, just on her own made it more interesting. When did I start sympathizing with her? When she started showing that she actually felt guilty about the loss of Harrow's parents. Because she knew, right? Like, she knew that they were going to commit suicide or something like that.
So she basically, to explain that, Gideon saw that Harrow was sneaking into something that she wasn't supposed to. And she told Harrow's parents what Harrow was doing.
Right.
And Gideon felt so proud of herself. She was like, I saw Harrow go in there because they just called her. I'm going to wait out here because I want to see Harrow's face when she gets in trouble. But realizes that Harrow is not coming out. So Gideon decides to go in there, and she sees that the worker, the king and queen, have hung themselves while Harrow, little baby child, is standing there with a noose, not being able to do it. And Gideon felt so guilty.
Yeah.
I do like her as a character. She's not a perfect character, and I think that's what makes her such a great character, because we also experience her trusting in people. Yeah. So we experience her like with the whole Dulcinea.
Yeah.
With her just being like, because by the way, Dulcinea is not a good character.
Oh my god, spoiler alert.
She ends up being not a good character, but it's funny because when that hits, Gideon's like, that's the girl I had hots for.
That part was so funny because she was right next to Harrow too. They were hiding behind like a rock, I think, and she was like, "Oh, I almost like slept with her."
I would have gone all out with her. To be honest,
I was ready to give her my inheritance. Her
sword. My
sunglasses. Just the sunglasses.
So the moment that really just solidified Gideon being such a great fucking character and a great narrator for this story, I knew I liked her, but the moment where I loved her was the bathtub scene. And in the bathtub scene, it's basically the first time her and Harrow are having a heart-to-heart talk. And they've been through a lot together, but they haven't really become friends at this point. So they both go into the bathtub, and that's where Harrow reveals to Gideon the death of the 200 children. They both come to terms with the death by suicide of both of the parents. And Harrow does say, like, I didn't hate you for that. I was more so mad at myself than I was mad at you. And the reason that I didn't talk to you and was a bitch was because I was jealous of you. And they get closer at this point. But there's one freaking line that is supposed to be said between Cavalier and Necromancer before they start working together, which is one flesh, one end. Meaning that they are together till the very fucking end. Mm-hmm. And that didn't mean much to me the first time I read it. Yeah. But going back and looking at that, that was a really sweet scene. And even right after, the fact that Gideon was like, you know, I was sleeping by the freaking windows because I didn't want to sleep in the bed that was next to yours. But right after, she like goes over to Harrow and they just get closer. And it just shows like, even though she's kind of mean, she's rude, she's still a good person. So I think as a narrator, Gideon did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked that moment too between them. I just kind of wish that it would have been a little bit more
than just that. What would you have liked?
For them to actually maybe become friends at this point?
Yeah. I kind of wish a little bit of Gideon would have rubbed off on Harrow and Shone. You know what I mean?
That would have been really cute.
So what are your thoughts on Gideon and Harrow as their relationship develops throughout the book? Because remember, it is said to be an LGBTQ book because Harrow and Gideon are said to be into each other.
Well, they're also both lesbians, right?
Yeah.
But
what do you think about their relationship throughout the book and in general?
Well, in the beginning, I thought the animosity that they had against each other was hilarious. I thought that the dialogue was so funny between them. Like, they were so petty with each other that I thought it was a good start to what their relationship was. But then when they were forced to work together and how difficult it was, I was still there. I was still there. But I kept waiting for something to happen. I held my breath. I was waiting for something to happen where it would show, oh, wait, they actually never hated each other. They were just jealous of each other, or they were just insecure to actually reveal how they truly felt about each other. Because it does say lesbian in the front, and I have seen that people ship them together, and I know that doesn't always indicate that something happens.
Yeah.
But for an LGBTQIA plus book, I would have expected something to happen.
Yeah.
So I was really disappointed that their relationship didn't progress in the way that I think would have made this story better.
It just didn't satisfy you.
It did not, no.
Okay. I really wish there would have been something between them because I was also there for the whole thing. And it just really hurt because at the end of the book, at the last fight, when they fight the big bad.
The big baddie.
Who, by the way, was the killer between the entire thing. It was Dulcinea.
Can you believe it? The one
bitch!
The one who was sick the entire time? It was that bitch.
She's not sick. I'm sick of her lies. She is sick. She's actually very sick.
When she turned into...
Because she was a lictor.
Yeah, when she turned into a lictor, she took on whatever health state she was at, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. She was sick for some reason.
But when the ending happened and they're fighting the big bad at the end, they're fighting Dulcinea.
They never revealed what it takes to be a lictor. And Harrow Hart, this whole journey that they were going on, and, you know, there were other Cavaliers and their Necromancers. They were all trying to become lictors, but they were doing, like, trials, and nobody knew what it actually took to become one until literally the last moment.
And the last moment is Harrow made, a little ball of bones, because she's a necromancer, a ball of bones to, like, as a shield, while the lictor Dulcinea is just banging down on it, trying to break it. There is another character, Camille, who's very hurt, and then Gideon, who can't really do much at this moment, and Harrow, who is running out of energy. Mm-hmm. And at this moment, Gideon realizes, like, one flesh, one end. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, Harrow, to be fucking honest with you, I don't even care about that ninth shit or anything. The reason I ever have done anything in my life has always been for you. And she says, I know what I must do. You have to open the barrier, or open the shield. And she opens it, and Gideon, who has never cared about anything, screams out for the ninth. and throws herself into basically like a pit of spikes.
Yeah.
And dies. And at this moment, Harrow becomes a lictor.
Yep.
How'd you feel about that?
You know, they kind of hinted at whatever it took to become a lictor would have been something big. And wasn't there a moment where their energies were actually like transferring to each other? I can't remember what the context was, but I remember reading that and being like, this better not go where the hell I think it's gonna go. And then it did.
It did. I'm so sorry.
I was really angry when I read that. I was really upset when I read that. And not only because I loved Gideon's character, 90% because I really loved Gideon's character, but also because there wasn't really anything, again, that solidified that they were at a point where they realized, oh, wait, I think I do love you.
They were just at a point where they were barely becoming friends. So
hardly there.
So it was sad. I did not want Gideon to die.
I didn't
I knew the name of the second book because my sister really likes this series. I know it was named Yajaira the Ninth for the second book. But if it weren't for the fact that that was the name of the second book, I would have thought that Harrow would die and then we would see the other houses through Gideon helping the other necromancers. That's what I was kind of expecting. And I kind of knew it was going to be a bury your gaze from like the beginning. I just didn't know it was going to end like that. When literally Gideon's on the cover.
Yeah. Hello, the main character?
I know.
She's going to die? Are you kidding me? Does that mean that Harrow dies in the second book?
I have no idea. And interesting you bring up the second book. You didn't read the epilogue for this book. So Harrow goes and sees the Emperor. And she goes up to him and is bringing up like, you know, I'm a lictor now. It's like, oh, congratulations. That's so great to hear. And it's like, no, there was this person named Gideon and I've tried to bring her back, but I couldn't. And then the Emperor's like, oh, really funny that you say that because we did go in there and found the bodies of all the dead people, but there was no Gideon. And then she's like, well, what do you mean by that? And she's like, well, I don't know, but I can't help you. But if you wanted to train under me, maybe you can figure out how to bring Gideon back. And then that's how the epilogue ends with her going under the Emperor. And Harrow says, I'll be your lictor, Lord, if you'll have me. And the Emperor says, then rise, Harrow Hark the First. And that's how that ends.
How do you feel about the possibility of them bringing Gideon back?
I don't feel too bad about that, only because remember when they were in that old lab in the labyrinth part of the mansion or of the palace? Gideon had found a piece of paper that had her name on it, but the paper was dated from thousands of years before. But she's just a regular person, so she's like, why the fuck would my name be on this?
Yeah.
So I feel like Gideon is more than what we've seen in the first story. There has to be something.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to bring her back, though. Do you think they would bring her back?
Well, I mean, I didn't read the epilogue, but it sounds like that's what they're going for.
Would you be upset if they brought her back?
No. I mean, okay. I think I would be, but eventually I'd forgive them if they were going to bring her back.
One thing I disliked about this story. I know that it's dense, and that's kind of a thing with fantasy books, that they have to build the world for you to enjoy it. I understand that. But I think one of the weak points that kind of turned me off of this book was the fact that there were so many fucking characters. Was there any other character, not counting the ninth house, that you liked?
No one really stuck out as much as the two main characters. But if I had to pick one, probably Dulcinea, just because she was described as sickly. And then Gideon did feel kind of bad for her.
Yeah.
So she was the only one that I really thought about. Wasn't there another lesbian couple, though?
Yeah, but they ended up being messed up because remember one of them killed the other because that's what they thought it was.
Oh my god,
to be a lictor.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. That was sad.
I think my favorite characters were the two youngest kids that were cavaliers that traveled with Gideon when they figured out like something bad was going on. And Gideon went underground with them. And the little boy who was with Gideon, there was an attack. He didn't react fast enough. And Gideon and the little girl ran away. And they closed the door. And the little girl's freaking out because she grew up with this kid. And it's like, we have to go back. We have to help him. But it's obvious that he's dead.
Yeah. And
then when they go to a safe space, Gideon takes a nap and she wakes up. And then this little girl is dead. And it's like, fuck, they were just kids. Yeah. And that really, really got to me. Yeah. That was really liked them. I really did like them. But just like, because this world was so dense, the rest of the characters, except for the main two, were really forgettable. Because even the character at the end, Camille, who lived and stuck with Gideon and Harrow, Camille? Yeah.
I think it was Camille, yeah.
Don't even remember her. When they were like, she's here, she's safe, and I freaking see comments like, yes, Camille, queen. I'm like, who the fuck is Camille?
Who's
I don't
Camille
even know what
again?
house she's in.
I don't either.
Yeah, but the world was so dense.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this type of book, you remember when we were reading Six of Crows?
Yes.
And you were taking notes?
Yes.
I feel like I should have done that for this book. Just to keep track of all of the characters, where they came from, and then just how I felt about them as they were being introduced. But then once they started fucking dying, I didn't want to get like too attached to anyone. I was scared.
Last question that I have, and then we can say our overall thoughts if you don't have anything else to say.
Okay.
So there's a compelling argument to be made that the relationship between Harrow and Gideon is too toxic to root for or romanticize. And apparently this author does this a lot, where they bring up toxic relationships and try to argue the alternative, which is, although it's toxic, there is something deeper here. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it is too toxic to be a relationship?
Just specifically Harrow and Gideon?
Yeah.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I just feel like with this story in particular, I really wanted something sweeter between them to actually show that they meant more to each other than, all of that jealousy and animosity. I just wanted them to have more moments where they would actually talk about their emotions and how they maybe care about each other. Maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I really shipped them together because I didn't see enough love between them.
So it's more...
Or any, honestly.
It's more so that than the toxicity of it.
Yeah, I mean, some people do like a little bit of toxic in their relationship, which is fine. But for me, I just wanted it to be sweeter between these two characters in particular.
I'm on the opposite side of your thoughts with I really did ship them.
Okay.
But the thing is, I completely agree with you. If this book had played out exactly the same and got to the very end, but Gideon didn't die and Harrow and Gideon would have kissed at the end, I would have hated that because that was built on nothing.
Yeah.
There was no romance between them.
I agree.
It was blossoming, but...
Well, nothing really...
slow enough to where it would not have impacted me.
This was a slow burn.
But too slow.
But, nothing happened.
Even if Gideon's coming back, I don't even know how I would feel about that. Because what are Gideon and Harrow going to say to each other when they see each other for the first time?
Oh my god, you, sacrificed yourself for me. Wait, do you, like me, maybe?
But then, Gideon is not an emotionally...
I know. I know. She's not.
She doesn't wear her... What is it? Heart on your sleeve?
Yeah.
She's not that. So how would that even play out?
I don't know.
But I did want them to end up together.
I did too, but there was nothing there. There was nothing of substance that I saw that I would think, wow, they actually really do love each other.
Yeah. So, we've reached the end. That was all I wanted to talk about.
We've reached the end of our episode, and I know we missed a lot of details, specifically on the world building, and then all of the things that Gideon...
characters.
Yeah, everything that Gideon and Harrow had to do to reach the end. But honestly... You're on your own.
Read the book. I feel like we did talk about a lot of good points, though.
Yeah.
But I want you to guess how I felt about this book. Because for some reason, I feel like I know what you think you know.
I think you would give it a solid 3.
Okay. Is that what you thought at the beginning before we started filming?
I don't know.
Because you kept mentioning, and we'll say it at the very end. You can tell me which one you thought it was. You kept mentioning, like, I know which book is your favorite. And for some reason, I thought you thought this was my favorite.
I thought it was like one of the top ones. Not the favorite, but one of the tops. But honestly, I don't even. After the 2 first episodes that we did, I was like, I'm giving up on you. I'm not even gonna guess with you because you're so unpredictable with your ratings.
So you. But
I did see your video, by the way.
Hello?
I did.
There's no privacy on TikTok. You post one thing publicly and then all of a sudden you watch it. Hello?
We share TikTok. Please follow us. Thank you.
Story and Things. STORYNTHINGS.
I think you missed the end, but whatever. But I did see your video, so you looked really emotional. So I assumed, okay, maybe it's like a 4-ish. But I knew you would agree with me about the romance aspect. That it just wasn't there.
It was not.
So I'm going to guess a solid 3.
Okay.
For you.
For you. I love you.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Big girl, I love you too.
I've known you for 10 years. 10 full years. Almost 10 full years in May.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you hate when things are too overly complicated. You don't like when things...
She's calling me dumb!
No, I'm not. It's more so like you wish sometimes things were at face value and people didn't try to make meaning off of things
that shouldn't have meaning.
Exactly. I know that about you. And I feel like this book was a lot. And although you might have enjoyed reading it at the moment, or at least trudged along with it, even if you did enjoy it, I don't think you would ever come back to this series. And I think you gave it a 2.
Okay.
Okay, so should I say mine first?
You go first, yeah.
So, my rating. I did actually really like this book, but not the first time I read it. Because the first time I read it, I was in Arizona, and it was 2 a.m., and I read the first 50 pages, and I was not down. Like, I did not understand what was going on, and I know it wasn't my one brain cell. It's just, like, the writing was so dense.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I just could not get into it. And my second time reading it, I did really get into it, but because the world was so dense, I feel like I was missing what was going on. However, I am very interested in this book. I did record a TikTok of me live reading it in one day.
I know, I watched it.
Thank you, I guess. But I can see myself reading the second book. And I really want to. I even recommended it for our next bulk read, but you kind of gave me, I don't know, I felt a little bit of tension.
Yeah, there was a lot of tension.
Yeah, so because of the things we mentioned in this podcast, I think I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I did really like it. I do not think I would read it again, but I would read the second one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Love that for you.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I disagree with you about me not loving things that are complicated.
Okay.
Because I really love fantasy and I love getting into different worlds. I think, how do I explain this? I did enjoy reading this book, but there are a couple of reasons why my rating is the way that it is. There are certain tropes that I just really hate. And one of them being bury your gaze.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy the story. I thought the world was cool. I liked reading about it. I am a little bit interested in reading the next one. Maybe not as much as you. My thing is I'm scared to know if she comes back because I don't know how I'm going to feel about it if she does. Okay. Or if she doesn't. I don't know.
Okay.
But I did enjoy the story. Don't think I would read it again, but I would love to see this in like a TV series format.
Hell yeah, that would be cool.
I think that'd be really cool. I might even read it again just for that.
Yeah.
And I think I would rate it a 2.5.
I told you. I knew it was going to be a 2. I knew it. And I didn't mean that you didn't like things that were complicated. I just meant that when something feels like they're trying too hard, you're just kind of like,
When I first finished reading this book, my rating was actually at like a 3.9.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I actually really liked as soon as I finished it, but sometimes you need to let things marinate.
Yes.
And the more that I thought about this book, the more upset that I became that the love wasn't actually progressed in the way that I wanted it to be progressed, or at least in the way that it's, you know, I don't even know if the author intended for it to be a romance between the two main characters or if people just ship them together.
I think she did.
Well, then that's why my rating is lower. That one, and I also lowered my rating because she died, and it made me angrier the more I thought about it.
You know what's funny? The first time I read this book, I would have thought that in this bulk read, it would have been my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. But then we started reading other one. But then the hating game happened.
Oh my god. The hating game? Two completely different stories.
I think we're done.
Oh
my gosh.
Before we finish,
okay.
If you did want to read the next one for the next bulk read, I am down.
I love you.
I love you.
Oh
Sorry, I'm so cold.
Yeah, are you okay?
No.
Are you a vampire? Are you a vampire?
I think I am. Actually, thank you for asking.
So thank you all for those of you who are listening to us in audio form, whether it be Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you get your podcasts on. If you can leave a rating or a review, that would really help. Also, if you want to tell your friends, family, loved ones, and enemies about us, that helps because the best way to get known is through word of mouth. If you listen to us and watch us on YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because that helps with analytics. I would really like to hear what all of you think about this book because I am really excited to read the second one. I think it would be a really nice read. But we are going to go ahead and end our episode the way we end all of our episodes, with a dice roll. What we do is we roll a dice, and if it lands on an even number, we read a positive review. And if it lands on an odd number, we read a negative review. And these reviews, we are getting it off of Goodreads, and we are not connected or affiliated with these people and their opinions. We're just going to read it and leave it in the air. So your number is a 10, positive.
All right. Well, there's a lot of positivity on here.
What did it get overall?
4.22. Interesting.
Both of us rated it lower than that.
Are we mean? Are we harsh critics?
Welcome to the
What's happening?
We figure it all out cast. We figure out that we're bitches.
Are we just like, what's happening?
I don't know, bad to the bone.
Oh, I get it. Necromancers. Because they're
full circle. By the way, we never really talked about the Necromancers this episode.
Oh well.
Bone people. Go ahead.
So this is from Ashley on Goodreads. They rated it a 5 out of 5, and they said, "My heart hurts. It aches. So incredible. I literally cried when it was over and as it was ending. I mean, that ending and this whole novel, brutal AF. Perfection. Truly."
Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
So did you buy the next one?
I actually have it. We can just do the next episode right now.
You're like, let's just do a quick read.
We'll do a story and things. Read with me.
Wait, that's cute.
I'm not reading that.
I'm not doing the reading though.